Hi, everyone. Welcome to Biblio Files, the program on AADL TV, where we take 5 minutes each segment to discuss one book question. I am Lucy, and I'm here today with Christopher and Amanda. And our question for today is, what is your favorite picture book? So, Amanda, what did you choose?
So I had less of a hard time with this question as usual. I work in the children's department, so I have a plethora of beautiful picture books that I get to see very often. And this was an easy one for me. I had two to pick from, and I went with this one. I went with The Blue Hour by Isabel Simler. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It's one of those books that you find on the library shelf, which is what I did. I picked it up, and there were lights and there was music, and I just had this complete beautiful moment. And I will find a couple of images to show you the author. It's a very simple picture book, very simple text, but there are these gorgeous double-page illustrations. And the whole book is colors of blue. It's that time of day when the sun is setting and the world is becoming blue, and there's just these gorgeous illustrations. So I picked it not because it has a beautiful message, but mainly because of these gorgeous, gorgeous, like blue, all shades of blue illustrations. And I guess the author is based out of, I think, France. Yeah, she lives in France. She has a few other picture books. I'm not familiar with if she carries on this artistic style in her other books, or if she just writes children's picture books, but this book is absolutely gorgeous. It came out a couple of years ago, and it's called The Blue Hour by Isabel Simler. Lucy, what did you pick this week?
Okay, so I couldn't decide if I wanted to pick like a beautiful picture book or one that's meant a lot to me. So I went back to like some of my oldest picture books and picked one that I've loved all my life. And I loved reading it as a child, and I loved reading it to my own children. And it is Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Steig or Steig, I don't know. But and if you're familiar with this book, like a lot of people think it's really strange. A little donkey finds a pebble, and he thinks it's like a magic pebble, and then a lion comes along, and so he makes a wish. I wish I was a rock, because he wants to hide from the lion, and he turns into a rock. And his parents are distraught. They can't find him, and like he's a rock for a whole year. And eventually it has a nice ending where everybody's reunited. Serendipitously, his parents are picnicking near the rock, and they pick up the pebble. But so it's kind of a strange story, which is typical of William Steig. But I also I just love its message of like this family being reunited. And I love his picture books because he doesn't shy away from using words that are, like, he doesn't just use words that are typical in children's books. Sometimes there are bigger sentiments and bigger words than you might normally find. So for some reason, this book has always moved me. Like, reading it to my kids every time, I was like, oh. I even have a little donkey and a little rock on my windowsill. So that's how much I love that book, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Christopher, what did you choose?
Well, I had a hard time with this because there are so many beautiful picture books and so many that I've really enjoyed through the years. Sometimes I think that picture books are really for adults. I often find them kind of reflective and sad, which is why I love them so much. This book is the second of three by John Muth. It's called Zen Ties. It's really a beautiful book of watercolors, and it tells the story. I don't know if you can see the pictures here. It tells a story of a large panda called Stillwater. And in this story, Stillwater is talking to his three friends, little kids, and they meet a neighbor who's this old woman who is really mean, and she spits when she's talking, and she's sick. And Stillwater kind of introduces them, the three children, to the older woman, and an understanding develops and some kind of warmth between them all. And it's very calm. The other reason I like this book so much is because Stillwater's nephew comes, and his name is Koo. And the first thing that Stillwater says to him is, "Hi, Koo." And Koo only speaks in haikus. And so that's really kind of sweet. The whole book is very calm and lovely. It's, you know, when I tell people that I find certain books sad, they often look at me puzzlingly because they don't find them sad at all. Probably most people would not find this book the least bit sad, but I think there's a tinge of that in a lot of picture books. So that's what I picked this time. He's a wonderful author and illustrator.
Well, I think what you said about how a lot of picture books, not a lot, but there's a good chunk of picture books nowadays that are appealing to adults, not just for, it seems like a lot of adult authors or celebrities are getting in that market where they're putting out picture books, and some of the books are just really wonderful, and they seem more appropriate for that, or more likely that an adult would enjoy them, not just for the content or for the illustrations, but just as a whole. They're so beautiful to look at. And there are some books that that aren't necessarily like a child wouldn't adore, like as a bedtime book. There's some overlap between the two, but I just think, like you said, Christopher, there's just this market for these wonderful picture books that are appealing to adults. So yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think they can be, like, picture books can be very evocative in more than just their pictures, like whether it's sadness or you're moved by some other emotion in reading them. And maybe part of the intent behind that is if you're the adult reading this book to a child, if you are moved by the book, that's going to come across in the way that you're reading it. And so I would think that might influence how the child feels about it, just because if you have a very engaged reader, then you might have a more engaged listener. But that's just, maybe that's just like, I only read books to my children that I enjoyed reading, you know? But yeah, there is just such a wealth of wonderful picture books out there. So we would love to hear from you what some of your favorite picture books are, and you can just follow the link that's below to add your comments there. And we hope that you join us next time on Biblio Files when we discuss our favorite poets. So we will see you next time. Thanks.